There we are. We're being recorded. So the meeting has been called to order. And we are at number 2, the approval of the agenda. Director Gisborne moved the agenda. Director Elliott seconds it. Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor of accepting the agenda as circulated? Any opposed? That's carried. Zipping right through here. Minutes of the Regional Hospital District Committee of the whole meeting September 6, 2023. Anybody like to move those minutes? Director Elliott, seconded by Director Gisborne. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? Don't see any hands. All those in favor of accepting them as circulated? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. We have no delegations and inquiries, no unfinished business, correspondence, or business arising from correspondence. That brings us to 8.1, Regional Hospital District Audit Service Plan. Brina, would you like to speak about that plan a little bit?
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, I just wanted to mention that this is the standard audit engagement that we go through every year. The one thing that is new for 2020, for the 2023 audit, is that we do have to implement the asset retirement obligation. So staff have been diligently going through and calculating what our obligation is in regard to asset retirements. And with regard to the Regional Hospital District, we're basically looking at any legal obligation to retire an asset. So with the Willingdon Creek Village, that's the one asset that we own, but it was built in 2014. So there's no, there's no hazardous materials, no lead or asbestos that we have to be concerned about with that building, but there is an obligation to account for what we would do at the end of the life of the former St. John's Ambulance building. So that there is an extra $1,200 cost for the auditors to go through what we've calculated and test our assumptions, etc. So that's the change with this audit service plan.
Anybody have any questions? Don't see any hands up. So would somebody like to make the motion that's in the package there? Director Gisborne, you're moving the motion in the agenda, seconded by Director Elliott. Any discussion on that at all? Any questions? All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we get to the Regional Hospital District 2024 Budget Draft 1. Ms. Greenan, would you like to guide us through the excitement of the figures, please?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do have a presentation, and I will make it, fairly brief, because I know that we are, we are crunched for time here. So I'll just share my screen and I'll try and share the right one this time. So can you see my presentation now?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this is draft 1 financial plan. And effective last year, we started making 5-year financial plans for the district. Slideshow. Just trying to get the slideshow started. So in this budget draft, I'll review again the
video and the sound are dropping.
Yeah. It could be losing you intermittently here.
Oh, did you lose the screen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start the presentation prior to sharing, then you can determine which screen you want to share.
Okay. So
start the presentation mode first.
Right. Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out. So can you see my screen with the 2024 budget draft 1?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So in this presentation, I'll review again the assumptions, the operations, which are pretty limited for the hospital district, the equipment grant that Vancouver Coastal Health often asks for. I'll review the operations of the Willingdon Creek Village, the lease payments, and our obligations around that. I'll also review VCH capital cost share. And then I'll review the reserve fund contributions and the residential tax rates based on draft 1 of the budget. So the assumptions, operational costs, of course, they're just estimates based on costs that we assume will incur. Return on investments, I'm projecting a rate of 4%. And as I said, in the regional district, we are getting closer to 5% right now. But I'm going to budget for 4% as an average for the whole year. The VCH cost share requests, if we do borrow for those cost share requests, I'm projecting that the interest rate will be 6%. And we have been getting, closer to 4.5%, 5%, but for budget purposes, 6%. Tax rates we're always looking at a residential tax rate per $100,000. And so the rates for non-residential would be increased based on the provincial multiples. And the 2023 actuals that you see in the plan are just year to dates to November 18th. So they will definitely change until the year end is completed. So operations, we have our Arbutus Street building, which is currently leased to the Miklat Recovery Society, which I know has just changed its name. There are no costs projected for that because the Miklat Recovery Society is operating it, and we haven't projected any costs that we'll have to put in 2024. The Abbotsford Street site, we budget $5,000 for debris removal, danger tree, just general cleanup. We don't necessarily spend all of that, so any surplus would come forward in the subsequent year. Legal fees, we budget $15,000 just in case we need to have some legal opinions. Professional fees, we budgeted $10,000, and insurance, I'm budgeting for a 10% increase. So we won't know what the actual increase is until we get our quotes from our insurance agents. So the VCH cost share requests, these are just the ones that have already been approved. I know they have asked for another cost share request, but we haven't the board actually hasn't given staff direction to write a report or consider that yet. So the ones that have been approved, the board has approved $2.8 million in 2021, and that was funded $118,356 from reserves, $2.6 million from borrowing over 10 years. And in 2022, the board approved another $791,756, and that was fully funded through borrowing over 5 years. So when these cost share requests are approved, we get invoices on a frequent basis from Vancouver Coastal Health as they spend the money, as they purchase the capital, and to date, we've had drawdowns on the temporary borrowing, and then we've converted 1.5 million of that to debenture debt. So what I'm going to recommend later on in this presentation is, because we do have some reserves available, that we consider not borrowing any more towards these two cost share requests, that we just use the reserves to fund the balance of those cost share requests. The 1.5 million that's already being turned into a debenture debt, we'll have to follow that through for the 10 years because we can't pay it down. The MFA doesn't allow us to do that. So the Willingdon Creek Village, we get lease revenue of $1.192 million annually from Vancouver Coastal Health for the lease of that building. And our debt payments are now increased to $1.832 million until 2034. And as I said, that is a 4.5%, 52% interest rate until 2028. And then in 2029, the interest will be reset again by the Municipal Finance Authority. The maintenance reserve, the lease revenue that we get from Willingdon for the Willingdon Creek Village includes a contribution of $240,000 annually. And we put that towards reserves for building repairs, maintenance, if we have to replace a roof, basically for renewal of the building. And we're estimated that that maintenance reserve will be 2.6 million at the end of 2024. The regular reserve fund, this is the Section 20 reserve, we've been contributing $200,000 plus interest in that annually, and it's projected at 5.2 million at the end of 2024. So that fund can be used for asset renewal, replacements, upgrades, major repairs of the hospital, and it can be used, as I said, towards cost share requests that we received from Vancouver Coastal Health. So the residential tax rates are projected in the 2024 budgets are $16.18 per $100,000 for the regional hospital district, the bulk of the area. And then Tla'amin has a bit of a different tax rate because they don't contribute to any decisions that were made pre-treaty. And so that means that their tax rate per 100,000 is a bit lower at $9.85 per 100,000. A cost per average home is about $98.27 for the bulk of the RHD, and then about $60 per average home in Tla'amin. And the average home is based on the average of the whole region in 2023, which was about $607,465. And we'll reassess that when we get the 2024 completed roll values. I did a tax rate in 2022. We did a rate comparison of 42 regional districts and or 42 hospital districts, sorry. And I just wanted to show you what we found. So Powell River, we're at $16.18. Of course, we're looking at 2022 rates for other regions, but we are quite low as far as tax rates for regional hospital districts. So we rank 33 out of 42, 42 being the lowest. So the lowest one is Squamish-Lillooet, which is at $3.31. And the highest one is Bulkley-Nechako. And I recently went to a regional district day and we talked about regional hospital district funding. And a lot of the hospital districts are, they're taking major steps to get their reserve funds funded so that they will have funding if they are requested to contribute a cost share towards a building replacement or renewals or other capital cost shares that come about. And so this one way to sort of even out how much money we have to requisition for these cost share requests is to put a consistent dollar value into the reserve every year. So for example, if we were to put, say, $20 per $100,000 to reserves, that would give us, based on the 2023 assessed values, that would put $1.76 million into the reserves every year. And we are averaging recently we've been getting approximately an average $1 million per year requests from Vancouver Coastal Health for cost shares. So this would be one way to even out the requisition, and then we wouldn't have to borrow. So we would eliminate the problem of borrowing all the time and the interest that's incurred to borrow. And then we would also have some money set aside in reserves for other capital renewals and repairs as they come up. So something that I'd like the directors to think about is to think about putting some, maybe we set a tax rate, and that is what a lot of other regional hospital districts are doing. They're setting their tax rates for normal operations, but then also setting a tax rate that they'll set aside every year for reserves. So now if directors have any questions, I'm available for questions. And then draft 2 of the budget is projected for January 24th, 2024, depending on what dates the board sets for those meetings. So I'll stop the share now.
Got some hands up. So I've got a couple of questions I'd like to see if I can ask you quickly. First is if you could put your slides back up there again, please. I know
Oh, okay.
when you had the first one comparing 2023 and 2024, I thought there were some differences between your slide and what's in my package there. Could we go back to that in the presentation? It shows the tax requisition table.
I'm trying to figure out now. I'm losing the share here. Can you see it? Can you see the screen? No. Okay.
I think I know what Director Dowd is referring to. Or Dowd, my apologies.
We'll see.
Page 8.
I'm sure you can get it back. It was looking good there before. Okay, now we can see the presentation. Now we need to go down to that first table that shows the jurisdiction and the tax requisition amounts. Okay, here we are.
Okay.
Okay, so in this one, we've got the residential tax rates. The numbers are the same as the one in my package. Get to the requisition change. My package shows 192,241 instead of the 163, and a requisition change of 15.2%, and the slide shows 12.8. Is that what's the difference between what's in our package on page 4 and this slide, and which is the right one?
Okay. 1 second. It's going to go through the.
The percentages are different over at the end. The tax rate per 100,000 seems to be, well, it's a few cents difference there too.
Oh, my slide is wrong. Sorry, I was putting these together really quickly. And so my slide is incorrect, because the tax requisition is actually 1.459224. And this slide shows 1.429. And so the tax rates in your package are correct. So it's actually $16 instead of $16.18. It's actually $16.52 per 100,000.
Okay, that's my conundrum. I was trying to figure that out. Now I'm happy. I know what it is, as long as everyone knows that page 4 of the package is the right one. And I see that really what's affected there is the cost share. This reflects the cost share requests that have already been okayed and agreed to by the board. And I agree with the concept of going ahead in the future, and I'd say not this year, but in the future, of setting a rate for the reserves that we're going to put in every year. And I think, just to your suggestion, if we had added $20 per 100,000, that would change the tax rate overall for the RHD from $16 to about $36. Am I right about that? So that would be
the chair. Yeah.
That would be a significant number for the future, but we could spend the next year talking about what the right number might be, and that would smooth taxation over the next number of years, hopefully. So those are my questions. So thank you very much for your help, and I hope I thank you for waiting. So Director Gisborne, you're next.
Yeah, could you bring that slide back up again?
Yes.
Incorrect one?
Well, yeah, but then the next one right after it. So go down to that. Yeah, and then that one.
Cost per average home. Yes.
Yeah, it says tax rate per 100,000, but they're both got the heading of 2023. And
yes.
Yeah, I think based on the package, the first two would be 2023 and the second two would be 2024, but it shows 2023, 2024, 2023, 2024. So I think that's is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, that should be the tax rate for 2023. Cost per average home for 2023 was $87.11. tax rate for 2024 is 16.52. And then for 2024 is probably be about $99 per average home.
133 cents in the package is, there's a similar table in the package on page 8, but the years are also, they have that same switch that's
Right.
on there. So when I first read it, I got a little confused, and I figured it out. That helps clarify.
My apologies.
Oh, no problem. Okay.
That takes care of your questions.
It does.
Director Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So there's 15,000 in the budget for legal fees. If we do not use it, does it roll over and then not get taxed the next year? Or did we have that in our budget last year? Is it rolled over this year? So that's my question on that. I have more than one question.
Go ahead, Ms. Greena.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, if we don't use it, what we have been doing and what I have recommended in past budgets is that any surpluses in the hospital district get rolled forward into the Section 20 reserve. So we don't generally roll them forward and use them in operations or use them to reduce the requisition, but they do get reflected in that reserve fund.
Second question, if we use the reserves we had intended to use to pay down our debt but did not in a variety of different ways, can we have a zero increase budget and still meet all our obligations this year and worry about replenishing reserves a different year, because we seem to be quite healthy there at the moment and other areas in taxation are struggling? And I think we could do a zero increase budget here at the hospital board to cooperate overall with trying to keep taxes down this year.
Ms. Greena.
Through the chair, yes, that is one way, because it would mean, basically that would mean just reducing the requisition back to $1.26 million. So what we would just have to make some adjustments, and you're correct. So we would just have $192,000 less funding going into the reserves.
Thank you.
Okay. Director McCormick.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Am I muted? I can't see or not.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm looking at the chart on page 5 of the report, which is looking at the cost share request debt payments. And when I added up the interest that we pay on both the short and long-term debt going till 2028, that's $798,000. That's almost $800,000 in interest on a debt that was initiated in 2020. So I'm really concerned about that. So I have a few questions related there too. On that chart, it shows a short-term debt. This is from the 2020 to 21 cost share request. It shows short-term debt of just under 18,000. Is that what is being proposed in the second recommendation to be funded out of the Section 20 reserve?
Greena.
That's my first question.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, so basically what I'm looking at to fund out of the Section 20 reserve would be basically all of the projected debt, the 1.187 million and the 756. So I'm proposing that both of those be funded from reserve. And then all we would have would be the that one at the top, the issue 158, 1.5 million. We would just have that debt to pay off.
Okay, but then there's the 2023 cost share request. So how would that be financed?
That I'm also recommending that, so that the 2023 cost share request is the 791,756 that has already been approved.
Right.
I'm recommending that and the 1.187 million be funded from reserve.
Okay, I agree with that. I think that's a good, I think that's a good solution. I think we have to be very conscious of how much we're willing to burden taxpayers with in terms of requisitions. So, yeah, thank you. I like that.
Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Chair.
Any other questions from any board members? Would somebody like to make the motion that's in the package?
Moved.
Or two of them? Director Gisborne?
I think Director Fall moved and I'm seconding.
Okay, I did. Maybe you didn't hear him. It's been moved and seconded. Then part one, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. How about part two?
So moved.
Director Fall, seconded by Director Gisborne. Any discussion on that? Director Elliott?
Is this where we would change numbers to land on a zero increase budget? As per my question earlier,
You want to make that motion?
I'm not quite sure what numbers to use, but yeah.
We could do this two ways. You could make motions now that you don't know quite how to make them. Or when we get to draft two, you could make a motion that you have more time to think about.
Okay.
I would suggest more time to think about it being maybe the better option.
Okay, just so the board knows that my intention is to think about that and probably bring it forward at another time.
Always a good idea in my view. You good with that, Ms. Greenan? I see you paying attention. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, through the chair. Yes, you could do that.
Okay, so if we pass this, we'll get draft two and then we can have a rethink in draft two and get our numbers straight. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. No new business. Question period. Mr. Galinsky, are you still with us?
I am still with you, Chair. Thank you very much. No questions at this time. Thanks for the opportunity.
Anyone else in the audience who might want to ask a question? We're dying for the day when that happens. I don't hear any, so that's unfortunate, but that means we're adjourned. Thank you very
I'll
much.
see you in minus 20 minutes.
Looks like we're on time for the next meeting.
Close.
Thank you.
Does everyone